They call Brady the Cole Trickle of sports media. You know the scene where Cole Trickle in Days of Thunder says, "There's nothing I can't do in a race car."
They call him Iceman.
They were calling me an a-hole and a bunch of other things yesterday.
I heard.
A clip went out about me talking about the Jets season. Now, here's what I'd like to do. I would like to acknowledge this on our show because this was something from something else that I did. But I want LeVar, if you can, Jonas, if you will, please look up the first 9 games of the Jets schedule.
Okay. By the way, should we get into this right now? Because I have it on.
Well, whatever.
hand.
I know you teased. I don't care. I mean, you're teased. You can find me for that. I don't care.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I don't. No, I'm all good here. Hey, put the gun down. We're all good. I want to know, like, if we want to get into that right now, I'm fascinated to see what some of the pushback has been because I mean,
we naturally went there, so why not?
Yeah,
like we're here.
All right. So here we go.
You don't need to build it up. I'll give you the background.
Well, no, I was looking at the schedule. No building up here.
Read off them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you the entire backstory. We did clips for all 32 teams, literally Monday, and we had to give a season prediction for their record. Now, I'm the type of person that, I make sure everything is on point. So there's these different simulators you go to, you pick every season. I think we talked about this at some point too, but all the records match up and all of that. And so one of the reasons why I love doing that is it allows you to go through their schedule, factor in bye weeks, how many weeks they're going back-to-back weeks on the road, things like that play a bit of a factor. And you also get a sense of, man, this team's, their schedule is ridiculously hard. And even though I believe the Jets' roster is vast improved, and I do think Zach Wilson will be better than what he was his rookie season, they have a ridiculous schedule. They play the entire AFC North the first 4 games. And so let's just say we're living in a world where Deshaun Watson, who we can get into this, and he looks like he's going to be suspended at some point, but he might be playing week 3. I don't know. And if he is, that's not a very winnable game for you if you're a Jets fan. And then they've got Pittsburgh after that. And then their most winnable game is probably the Dolphins in week 5.
And that might not be winnable this year.
And I don't know that it's winnable this year. I would say the Dolphins have a better roster. The Dolphins have had a better track record. So it's winnable to maybe a Jets fan, not to me. I don't even know that they'll be favored in that one, even though I think they're hosting the Dolphins, so maybe they will be. But then look at after that.
Yeah.
They go back-to-back weeks on the road to Green Bay and Denver?
Yeah.
Then you have the Bills, the Patriots. Seriously, you guys tell me, is it more likely they go 0-9 or 9-0? And realistically, how many of those games are they going to be favored?
They're not winning one of those games.
Even if those games were favorable, like at Jacksonville, you're still, it still would be difficult to come to the conclusion that the Jets will go to even an 8-1 team.
Even at Cleveland with Jacoby Brissett, they're not winning that game. The Jets aren't winning that game. I don't, and that's week 2. I don't see them winning that game. No, they're going to be 0-9 by their bye week. Nothing you said was off base. And then they're going to go at New England after the bye. Probably not winning that game either. They're going to be 0-10. But at least they got rid of Adam Gase. Right. I mean, problem solved.
And here's the deal: look, I'm not saying that they're going to end up being that. I said realistically, meaning it is a scenario that if I'm a Jets fan. And they should know better than anyone because of the misery that they've gone through over the past, 12 years since the last time they went to the playoffs in 2010?
Yeah.
You have a organization that is poorly run. You've had an organization that has had a lot of turnover. You've got a roster that, you may say it's talented because of the draft picks. And look, I said after the draft, the 2 teams that I thought you could definitively say it was a home run after the first couple of days were the Giants and Jets. Those fan bases to be ecstatic. Here's the problem. You still have a young roster. You're still probably the worst team in those divisions. Let's just be real about it. AFC East, NFC East, both the Giants and Jets are probably still the bottom dwellers right now in those divisions until they can prove otherwise. And so, that was all it was. It's just painting a realistic picture of why I think, hey, they're probably going to be a 5-12 team. That's probably what it's going to be with this schedule. And Jets fans got really upset about it. But I got hit up and someone's like, oh, you're going viral. I go, yeah, I don't know what that means. What did I do? What is there, some naked pictures out there somehow? I was someone got a peep can in my house? They're like, no, the Jets thing you said. And I'm like, I don't care about Twitter. Like, I don't look at comments. I don't really lean into that stuff because I don't care. And it's just like, it's a realistic thought. And this is no different. And Jonas, you can get next to this. When I said about Mitchell Trubisky, what I saw, and then I got a lot of pushback from Bears fans.
Yeah.
Just because they went 12-4 that year. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, though. There's some flaws in his accuracy, throwing left, all these things. Your boy Olin Kreutz tried to come at me. I said, I just break down what I see. I don't try to like allow anyone's opinion to persuade me. Even this draft stuff. I told Daniel Jeremiah about Kenny Pickett 3 years ago. I remember telling him definitively, he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not on that train yet. I think he was by this past year. But there's things like that where you're like, I just try to tell you what I see. And it's my opinion. It's whatever. We talk about that all the time. We all got opinions. But that was where Jets fans apparently were fired up, which I could care less about.
By the way, what's the highlight of the Jets' offseason? They were terrible last season. The highlight of their offseason is what? The draft. And there's no guarantee any of those guys are going to work out. It's all projections. And so when you go on DraftKings right now, the Jets' over-under win total is 5.5. I will, and money is pouring in on the over. I'll take the under. Like, just based on the first half of the schedule, they've got a couple of winnable games later on where they got Jacksonville and Detroit back-to-back at home. Other than that, I mean, like, back-to-back road games, Minnesota and Buffalo, Seattle and Miami. Like, you think the Jets are going to go out in Week 17 all the way to Seattle and win that game or be projected to be anywhere close in that game? Barring injury, I just don't see it happening. I think that's a lot of fanboys that are upset because you're speaking the truth and they don't want to hear it because everybody else has been ball washing them because they had a great draft.
Well, even if we didn't love Q, it's still an accurate take.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's not even really about, supporting or ball washing, as you guys say. I think it just comes down to Jets fans that are upset and disgusted and irritated. What grounds do you have to be upset? I just, I maybe missed something. Maybe something took place that I'm unaware of that you guys are aware of. Sure, you had a great draft, but
And by the way, LeVar Arrington is the captain of the Zach Wilson Defense League. He was over Zach Wilson last year.
Oh, okay, hold on.
And I still have hope for him.
Yes,
I really do.
So let me ask you this, LeVar. If they do go 5-12, which is kind of what I said, that based on their schedule, based on everything we know right now, which, again, it's a futures bet. I mean, who the hell knows, Do you not think they wouldn't look back into the draft in the 2023 draft if you could draft a C.J. Stroud, a Bryce Young, a Tyler Van Dyke out of Miami who's going to be one of those guys talked about, Will Levis for Kentucky is another guy people are already talking about. Like, those four will probably be the players you're talking about in the first round. People have mentioned Anthony Richardson. He's a tremendous athlete. He's got to show way more on the field, playing quarterback, I think, before you start throwing him into the conversation. But basically picture I think, just as big as Trey Lance, maybe even more athletic and big arm, all that stuff. But I digress. If they're sitting at 5-12 and you're somewhere in the top 5, are they not contemplating going back into the draft for a quarterback?
Oh,
100%.
That is a tough question. You said 100%.
100%. Think about it. Joe Douglas, if they're a 5-win team again this year, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are both on the hot seat, and they've got to do something drastic to improve the fortunes or at least get some hope there. If Zach Wilson puts together another crummy season, you have to go get Bryce Young if he's available. You have to.
Oh, wow. Okay, then my response would be if it's 100% and seemingly they gonna stink. So if that's the case, then what's next? I said the same thing. Okay, you bring in Sean Payton and they don't do well. What's next? If you go back in and you go high to get Bryce, or you got to be in there, at a very, very high draft pick, or as I guess the other way would be saying a low draft pick in terms of being early. I mean, can you imagine the amount of pressure that puts on that young man that just got drafted? 2 years? 2 years after?
Yeah, but we see that. I mean, look, we saw that with Josh Rosen. It was a year after they drafted Kyler Murray.
Dang.
I think that opens up the door to all of it, to be honest with you.
Dang. That's just.
And
I
by
guess
the
you're
way,
right. I guess you're right.
Like, I think more and more teams get to the point where, you look at what they did in season 1, you look at what they did in season 2, and in this case with Joe Douglas was there for the last season for Adam Gase, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So he's already been there a few years. So to Jonas's point, maybe people start pointing at him and they're like, what's happening? We've supposedly got all these talented players. It's not working out. And so maybe we need someone else who's making that selection. I think if you're looking at it realistically, there's a chance, and I don't know what they did to the schedule makers with the NFL, but my God, that is a gauntlet to start off the season. I mean, LeVar, and you have appreciation for this because you're from Pittsburgh. I played in the AFC North. Like, I know what that's like. That is a physical battle every single one of those games, and it's not like you could overlook any one of those teams. I mean, you can't right now. Like, every one of those teams has something that they're, I would say for the most part, either extraordinary talent or an extraordinary side of the ball. Whether it's Cincy and their offense, whether it's Baltimore and their offense, you could probably say their defense too. Whether it's Pittsburgh, their defense. Cleveland, you got a guy like Myles Garrett. You got a defense that I think it's improved, but with Deshaun Watson there, the combination of all that, if he is playing,
the potential's there.
Dude, those 4 games though, like that is, I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know what the Jets did to the schedule makers, but I personally feel like that's the most unfair schedule for a team that had a losing record this past season. I don't know why they had to do that to the Jets like that. That is a rough, brutal schedule.
I would agree. And even if it wasn't a tough, brutal schedule, I would still agree that they're going to struggle. Sorry, Jets fans, and that's not me just, I'm just shedding some light on it so you can approach it from a more realistic standpoint. If they have – all right, here's a great question. It's very simple question. If the Jets were to be at a winning record, by week 11 or whatever it may be, and we said if they're at 10-1, which one would be more surprising, 1-9 or 10-1?
10-1.
10-1.
And by the way,
Okay.
I think Robert Saleh would close the ballots for Coach of the Year, and he'd already win Coach of the Year by week 10 if they were 9-1. I think that would be a wrap on that award too.
Yep.
Zach Wilson, comeback player of the year, probably MVP too. They were 9-1.
And you know what? If we're being honest, them fans that gave you a hard time, Q, would be just as surprised as well.
Of course they would.
Even though they'd be like, I told you, J.E.
You know what's funny, though, that I laugh at?
Nah, you be in the inside
Is
like, man, we
people
really
who-
10-1.
People who think they're giving me a hard time, like, I don't even know you exist. Like, I don't even know what you said or what you think you said. Hopefully it made you feel better, but I'm just out here living my life.
Just live your best
I don't
life.
know what's on there.
By the way, one of the guys, because I saw some of the comments, one of the guys' Twitter account name was like, "In Joe Douglas We Trust." Like, that was his Twitter account. Oh, it's so
People
funny.
get carried away sometimes, man.
They certainly
Well,
do.
think about if that's what your life is comprised
Right.
of. Like, you
Right.
want people, when they see your Twitter account, to see that as your name.
Oh, man.
Like,
Those
a
are guys
grown
that are hollering
man,
for
a
food.
human being, instead of their own name and who they are, they're putting it into a position that has been a revolving door within an NFL organization. That's honestly, if you want me to be real about it, it's kind of sad.
They're sitting there like, Mom! Meatloaf! Meatloaf, Mom! It's those type guys,